Hello everyone, I am Dumindu Silva from Creative Software. Today I will be talking about Introduction to Cloud Computing with Microsoft Azure. So first of all, let's go with the agenda. First, I will be doing an introduction to cloud computing. After that, I will be talking about characteristic of cloud computing, then the types of cloud models and cloud services. After that, I will be talking about Microsoft Azure and the Azure key concepts, and finally I will do a demo on what we have learned today. Okay, let's start with introduction to cloud computing. So what is cloud computing? So actually in cloud computing we are trying to access resources and services of someone else's computer via the internet. So that can be servers, storage, networking, software likewise. So cloud computing enable faster innovation, flexible resources and economies of scale. So let's talk about characteristics of cloud computing. First, the high availability, which is the ability to keep the services running without crashing. So there can be small downtimes, but overall the services will be running smoothly. Next, the scalability. Scalability is the ability to increase and decrease resources for any given workload. So if you think you need this computing power for these tasks, we can easily increase it by the cloud service provider with just one button click. Next, the elasticity. Elasticity is the ability to automatically increase or decrease the resources as we need. Then the agility, the ability to react quickly. So if you need to remove any resources or allocate any resources, you can do it easily using the cloud computing technologies. Next, the disaster recovery, the ability to recover data when there will be a disaster. Global reach. Many cloud providers will be able to provide their services to the whole public. And finally, predictive cost considerations. So with using cloud computing services, customer will be able to predict the cost that will be incurred for the particular cloud service. So moving forward, let's talk about the cloud models. Mainly we can describe three cloud models for now: public cloud, the private cloud and the hybrid cloud. So let's talk about the public cloud. The public cloud is owned by the cloud service provider. So there is no local hardware to manage or keep up to date. Everything will be done by the cloud provider. So as a common use case, we can think that when we are deploying a web application to the internet, all the things will be taken care of by the cloud provider. So as an example for public cloud, we can take Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services. Next, we will talk about the private cloud. So the private cloud is owned and operated by the organization basically, and they create their own environment in their data centers. So typically, customers move for private cloud when they have critical data with them. Okay, next we'll talk about hybrid cloud. So the hybrid cloud is a combination of both public and private cloud. So for example, we can assume that we are hosting our website in the public cloud, and we are connecting the database for that website using our private cloud. So it's more secure. Then we will talk about the type of cloud services. So as the diagram shows, mainly the cloud services can be divided into three main services type. First one is infrastructure as services, then platform as services, and software as services. So first we will be talking about infrastructure as services, which is also known as IaaS. So IaaS is the most basic category of cloud computing service. So basically cloud provider will be providing instant computing infrastructure for the customer. So this can be assumed as much closer to the on-premise topology and resources. So with IaaS, you can rent IT infrastructure from the cloud provider such as virtual machines, storage, networks, likewise. So this will be avoid expenses and complexity of buying and managing own physical servers and data center infrastructure. And also IaaS can be used for test and development. So teams can quickly enable a development environment and test their products in that environment. And also IaaS can be used for big data analysis as well. Since the big data analysis take more computing power and many more resources, we can use IaaS to create a separate computing environment and deploy your solutions there. So let's talk about platform as services, also known as PaaS. So in here, cloud providers basically deliver platform as a service. Like in IaaS, PaaS will be providing the infrastructure as well as the middleware, such as development tools, business intelligence, likewise. So we'll be talking about software as service, also known as SaaS. So this is basically a model which is software is delivered via the internet. So this is mainly centrally hosted and managed. Usually this can be called as a multi-tenant architecture. So all the hosting and maintenance will be handled by the cloud provider. So all you need to do is log into the web browser or app. Then the software will be delivered to your computer via the internet. So here we can see the overall structure of all three models that we talked about. So when it comes to on-premise computing, you have to manage all the stacks displayed as here by yourself. When it comes to infrastructure as service, the cloud provider will be doing the backend part and delivering you the infrastructure, but you have to take care with the middleware and the front end. So when it comes to the platform as service, they will be delivering the backend with the runtime as well. So you have to deploy the application and the data by yourself. So finally, when it comes to software as service, uh, all the stacks will be taken care by the cloud provider. So now let's talk about Microsoft Azure. So Microsoft Azure is one of the largest cloud computing service provider available today in the internet. So here you can see all the services provided by Azure in a single picture. So this has been divided into mainly two parts, which are platform services and infrastructure services. So for example, if you want to deploy a website, you can use Azure Web Apps to make it done. In another scenario, if you want to use a SQL database, you can simply allocate your own SQL database using Azure SQL Database. So next we will be talking about Azure key concepts. So the first one is data centers and regions. So Azure is a global cloud platform that is generally available in many regions around the world. So when you provision a service or application in the Azure, you are asked to select a region. The selected region represents a specific data center where your application runs. So the region you choose can affect the performance of your application. It's optimal to choose a region that is closer to most of your customers. So it will reduce the latency in network request. So next we will be talking about Azure Portal. So it's include a customizable dashboard and tooling for managing Azure resources. So I'll be showing these all features in the upcoming demo. So next we will talk about resources. So Azure resources are individual compute, networking, data or app hosting services that have been deployed in Azure subscription. So some of common resources are virtual machines, storage accounts, SQL databases, likewise. So Azure services often consist of several related Azure resources. For example, an Azure virtual machine might include a virtual machine, storage account, network adapter, and a public IP address. So all of these are individual resources. So each resource can be created, managed, and deleted individually. So keeping all these resources together, we use resource groups. So actually, Azure Resource Group is a container that holds resources for Azure solution. So let's talk about automation. In addition to creating, managing, and deleting resources using the Azure portal, you can automate these all activities using PowerShell or the Azure command line interface. So Azure PowerShell is a set of modules that provides CMDlets to manage Azure. You can use the CMDlets to create, manage, and remove Azure services. So talking about Azure command line interface, it is available for Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. So we can use it to create, manage, and remove Azure resources using the command line. So let's talk about Azure subscriptions. A subscription is a logical grouping of Azure services that is linked to the Azure account. A single Azure account can contain multiple subscriptions. The billing for Azure services is done on a subscription basis. So there are these types of subscriptions available. First one is free accounts. So you can create a free Azure account. This will be giving you $200 of Azure credits, which is valid till 12 months. So then you have MSDN subscriptions, Bespoke accounts, pay-as-you-go, enterprise agreements, and Azure for students. So in pay-as-you-go subscription, you pay for what you use by attaching a credit card or a debit card to the account. With the enterprise agreement, you commit to using a certain amount of services in Azure over the next year. So the MSDN and Bespoke subscriptions are the offerings given by the Microsoft with the $150 of Azure credits per month. So if you are a university student or a school student, you can claim a Azure for student subscription easily, which will give you $100 of Azure credits per a year. Alright, so now let's start with the demo. Okay, first I will show you how to create a Azure free account. So simply use search for Azure free. So then you will get to this landing page. Here they have explained everything. So you will get the account for 12 months with 200 USD of Azure credits, and those are valid to 30 days. And also there are 25 plus services available for free without any costing. So to get started, you just click the button. So you have to log in with your Microsoft account. If you don't have an account, you can create one from here. So you have to add your details here. Once you're done, the account will be activated. So I will be telling you how to create a Azure for student account if you are a university student or a school student. So use this link for that. So you have to enter your phone number here, then they will be giving you a verification code. After that, in here you can add your university or school email, then they will verify the email and you will be getting the account for free if you are a student. Okay, so I will be login to my Azure account now. Okay, so this is the portal I was talking about earlier. So here you can see all the resources which are available here. So in all service you can see what services are available in Azure. So if you want to compute, then you can create virtual machines, batch accounts likewise. So if you go to networking, you can create a virtual network, express routes, load balancers likewise. For getting things start, I will just select a compute and a virtual machine. Okay, since I have used all credits remaining with this account, I move to my other account. So here I will show you how to create a virtual machine. And here you have to select the subscription. So I have this Visual Studio Enterprise subscription, and you have to create a resource group. After that, I will let virtual machine name as the creative demo. So here you can add availability options. So as for this, I don't need any availability sound. So then you can select your image, what OS you need to install in your virtual machine. So I will give Windows 10. So the size, what size you need to add, and the username. So here you have to add the authentication type, whether it's a SSH key or a password. So I'll select password. let's go to the disk. So here you can select what type of disk you need to. So I will use standard in the networking. And finally, if your requirement is correct here, you can create the virtual machine. This might take some time. So once your deployment is completed, you will get this kind of notification. So from here you can go to your created resource group. So here you can see that in this resource group there is a virtual machine, a public IP address, a virtual network interface likewise. So all these are created in this one resource group. So let's we go into the virtual machine. So here you can see that since the virtual machine is already started, it shows the status as running. So now we need to connect to this VM. So in our menu, select connect under settings. So in here you can see that there are three type of connections. RDP, which is remote desktop protocol, SSH and Bastion. So we will go with RDP. So here you can download your RDP file to your PC. So then you have to enter the credentials we have given when you're creating a virtual machine. Once this is done, you will log into a virtual machine. So you can see that we have configured a virtual machine with a brand new operating system. Okay, now let's discuss a real scenario where we need Azure when we're developing a project. Okay, here I have a simple ASP.NET Core Web API that I have written. So if I run this, you can see these APIs are available through this Web API. So simply, if we run this API, we will get a JSON of patient details. So I will quickly explain how this code works. So here we have models, data and controller folder. So in the models we have three entities which are patients. So the patient has patient ID name, ailment, which is known as the illness, and medications. So in the medication entity, the dose and the name of the medication, and in ailment, the name of the illness. So in the controller, we have a patient controller, and I have written all the APIs inside that. So talking about data, I have created dummy data here. So for ailments, I have written a list of dummy illness types and list of medications, and also a list of dummy patients. And then there is the health context, and I have defined all three entities here. So I have connected a local database. So in here I have used the code first model to build this API. So what will happen is, so once the code is running, it will create the data in a local database, and the data will be imported from that. So let's try to connect this application to a Azure SQL Database other than using a local database. So now we need to create a SQL database. Let's go to create a resource, and you can find here the SQL database. Then, like previously, you need to select your subscription and the resource group. I will create a new one, and the database name, we'll call it creative demo test, and the SQL server. So you need to give a unique name for this. So I will give creative demo, and admin login, password. So from here you can select where you need to deploy your server. So I will select East US for now. Okay, all good. So you have the database server. Want to use SQL Elastic Pool? No. So then the networking, all okay. All seems good. And great. Okay, so our deployment is completed. So we can go to the resource by clicking on the notification. Yes, so here we have our SQL database. So we need to connect this to our application. So in here you can see connection strings. So we will click that connection string. So the Azure will be providing connection strings for ADO.NET, JDBC, ODBC, PHP, Go, likewise. So since our application is a .NET Core Web API, we need to use ADO.NET. So we will copy this. Then what we have to do is paste this connection string to our DB connection. So in our project, the connection string is written in the app settings JSON file. So here, as you can see, the connection is to the local database. I will copy that and comment the previous one and paste the new one. Finally, you have to complete this connection string with your password you have given. Let's try running that. So here it says that this client IP cannot be accessed to the server. So you need to create a firewall rule for this client IP to access the server. So let's do that using the Azure portal. So we are in our SQL server. In the menu, you can find firewalls and module networks under security. So select that. So under that, you can add a firewall rule. So your client IP address is given, and both start IP and end IP will be your client IP address. Okay, then save it. Just we try again now. Okay, our app worked. So let's try getting some data. Okay, so the data is also coming. So now you saw that the we have connected our database to the Azure. So just try getting a patient detail with the ID. Okay, so the details for the patient one is giving here. And now let's go again to our portal and see whether our data is created in our database. So we'll go to our SQL database and the query editor, and you have to enter your password for the SQL server. Okay, so let's see, do we have tables? So you can see that these tables have been created. So if we select the data, you can see that data also visible. So right now our application is connected with the SQL database in Azure. So let's try to deploy this application in the Azure website. So for that we have to go back to our home page and here create an web app. So as previously we selecting the subscription, and we can use the previously created resource group. So we'll give in the name as the creative demo test, and then we will publish the code instead of a container, and you have to select the runtime stack. So since our project is built with .NET Core, we have to select .NET Core 3.0, and the operating system of the VM can be Linux or Windows. So I will keep as it is, and your region Central US, and you have to create an user plan for this, and here you can select your pricing tier. So I will keep in S1 for now. I will keep this as it is. So finally create. Okay, so your deployment is completed. So we can go to our deployment in here. So you have app service created. If you select this URL, you can see that your application is up and running. So now we have to deploy our code to this app service. So for that we have to download the published profile of this app service. To that you can select here and download the published profile. Okay, so in this published profile you can see the details of the app service. So here we need the username and password for the app service. So if you see here, you can get the username and password. So I will copy those two. Okay, next we will go to our project, and now we have to build this solution. So for that, right click and publish, and from here as the publishing target we will give the folder, so it will publish to this folder and then publish. So next what we need is a FTP client. So you can select any FTP client to connect with the app service. So today I'm using WinSCP. If you need, you can use Putty, FileZilla, likewise. Since I have already installed WinSCP, I will be using that. Okay, so here we have the WinSCP. So what we need to do is connect the app service directly using this. So here we select new site. So the FTP hostname can be found in the portal here. You just simply copy that and go back to the WinSCP and paste it there. And your username will be the username that is given in the file we have downloaded previously, and the password as well. Okay, then you can save this and login. Okay, you can see that we have login to the site www.root folder. So there is a one single HTML that is the default landing page we saw previously. So now we don't need this. So what we need to do is go to our folder and copy this publish folder to our www root folder in the app service. So since this has so many small files, you can simply compress this file, then paste it there. So until this get copied, we have to do another work. Let's go back to our portal. So here we are trying to do is connect Azure Web App with Azure SQL Server. So this is can be easily done using the connection string given by the SQL Server. So for that we go to the configurations here, and under connection strings click new connection string. So you have to add your connection string name and the value as you gave in the code. So I will fill them. Then you have to select the type as SQL Azure and then OK, and remember to save the configuration. Okay, all seems good. So we have copied our published folder. Then what we have to do is we have to unzip that. For that I will use the console of the app service. So we are in the www root folder and we can see the published zip is there. So I will unzip it. Okay, so we need to move the published folder contains to the outside of the folder. So we use this command. So finally our deployment in the app service. Now let's try accessing the web app. So if we go to our URL, now you can see that our app is running. So if we check with first API, you can see that the data is also coming. So we were able to successfully host a web application in Azure and link that with Azure SQL Database. So I think you have learned something today. Hope to see you with another video. Thank you.